Have you ever caught yourself rehearsing an argument that never happened, or imagined finally saying the perfect thing to someone, only to realize the entire conversation existed inside your head? Maybe it's during a shower, maybe while driving home, or maybe just as you're trying to fall asleep. The words feel real, the emotions feel real. Sometimes you even react out loud. It seems strange, but what if your brain isn't wasting time at all? What if these imaginary conversations are actually revealing something hidden about the way your mind protects you? Think about the last time someone left your message unread. You probably told yourself it didn't matter. But hours later, your mind quietly began writing a story. You imagined explaining yourself, defending your actions, predicting what they might say next. Before you knew it, you had lived through an entire conversation that never happened. Oddly enough, your brain wasn't searching for drama, it was searching for certainty. This is where psychology becomes fascinating. Your brain hates unfinished stories. Psychologists call this the need for cognitive closure. In simple terms, your mind prefers complete answers over unanswered questions. When something feels unresolved, your brain keeps working in the background, trying to fill in the missing pieces. It's like opening dozens of tabs on your computer and never closing them. Even when you're focused on something else, they quietly consume mental energy. But that's only part of the story. Imagine walking away from a meeting, then suddenly replaying everything you said. Hours later, you're thinking of better responses, witty comebacks, clearer explanations. It feels like overthinking. But psychology tells a different story. Your brain is running simulations. Just like pilots use flight simulators before flying a real plane, your brain constantly practices social situations before they happen, or even after they've already ended. Deep inside the brain, networks involved in memory, imagination, and future planning work together to prepare you for uncertainty. Your mind isn't trying to torture you, it's trying to reduce the chances of being caught off guard again. The strange part is that your brain doesn't always know the difference between an imagined conversation and a real emotional experience. That's why your heart can race while sitting alone in your room. Your body reacts to the story your mind is creating. Now imagine carrying around an invisible backpack. Every awkward conversation, every unanswered message, every regret gets quietly dropped inside. Most days you barely notice the weight. Then one small reminder, a familiar name, a notification sound, a random memory, and suddenly your brain opens the backpack again. That's why certain imaginary conversations keep returning, even years later. If you're enjoying exploring how your mind works, consider subscribing. Every week we uncover the hidden psychology behind the behaviors most people experience but rarely understand. Here's where things become even more interesting. Most people believe these imagined conversations are about the other person, but neuroscience suggests they're often about you. They're connected to your identity. Every conversation you imagine is your brain asking silent questions. Did I say enough? Was I respected? Do they understand me? Am I safe? Beneath every imaginary dialogue is usually an emotional need that never felt fully satisfied. Think about someone who keeps imagining finally standing up to a difficult boss. On the surface, it looks like anger. But underneath, it may be a deep desire to feel valued. Someone replaying an old breakup may seem unable to move on. But beneath the memories, their mind may still be searching for an explanation that was never given. Your brain isn't obsessed with the conversation itself. It's obsessed with the emotion attached to it. This also explains why these mental conversations become louder at night. During the day, your attention is busy: work, messages, noise, responsibilities. But when everything becomes quiet, your brain finally has room to process what it postponed. It's like a lighthouse scanning a dark ocean once the storm settles. Thoughts that stayed hidden all day suddenly become impossible to ignore. And yet, something surprising happens when you understand this process. Instead of fighting every imaginary conversation, you begin asking a different question. Not, why am I thinking about this again? But, what unfinished feeling is my mind trying to understand? That small shift changes everything, because the goal isn't to stop your thoughts. The goal is to understand the message beneath them. Sometimes your imagined conversations are preparing you. Sometimes they're protecting you. Sometimes they're simply reminding you that an emotional chapter still feels unfinished. And once you recognize that pattern, the conversations lose much of their power. So the next time you catch yourself talking to someone who isn't even there, don't assume your mind is working against you. It may quietly be doing what it has always tried to do, helping you make sense of a world where not every conversation gets the ending you hoped for. And perhaps the most important conversation your brain has been waiting for is the honest one you finally have with yourself. Because here's the truth most people never realize. Imaginary conversations are rarely about winning an argument. They're about trying to rewrite a feeling. Your brain can't change the past. It knows that. But it can keep searching for a version of events where the outcome feels safer, fairer, or more satisfying. That's why you often imagine saying exactly the right words, not because you expect the past to change, but because your emotional brain is still looking for relief. Psychologists have observed something similar in people who experience unresolved emotional stress. The mind naturally revisits situations that carried uncertainty or emotional significance. It's not a flaw. It's one of the ways the brain tries to learn from experience. Like editing a rough draft, it keeps making small adjustments, hoping the next version will finally feel complete. But there's a hidden cost. Every minute spent inside an imaginary conversation is a minute your attention isn't fully present, and attention is one of the brain's most valuable resources. Imagine trying to drive while constantly looking in the rearview mirror. You might still move forward, but not with the same clarity. This is why some people feel mentally exhausted even after a quiet day. Their body barely moved, but their mind held dozens of invisible conversations. It debated, defended, explained, apologized, worried, planned. That's real cognitive effort. The good news is that awareness changes the experience. The moment you recognize that your brain is running a simulation instead of reflecting reality, something shifts. You stop treating every thought like a prediction. Instead, you see it for what it is, your mind exploring possibilities. Think of your thoughts as clouds crossing the sky rather than commands you must obey. Some clouds are dark, some are bright, but none of them stay forever. Your imaginary conversations are the same. They arrive, they pass, and they don't define who you are. Ironically, the people who imagine conversations the most are often deeply thoughtful. They care about relationships. They want to understand others. They notice subtle emotional details that many people overlook. That sensitivity can become a strength if it's guided by awareness instead of fear, because there is a difference between reflection and rumination. Reflection helps you grow. It asks, what can I learn from this? Rumination keeps you trapped. It asks, what if I had said something different? One moves you forward. The other quietly anchors you to moments you can no longer change. So the next time you catch yourself halfway through a conversation that exists only in your imagination, pause for a second. Ask yourself one simple question. Am I searching for an answer, or am I searching for peace? That question often reveals far more than the conversation itself. In the end, your mind isn't broken. It isn't trying to make your life harder. It's doing exactly what it evolved to do. Protect you from uncertainty, prepare you for the future, and make sense of the emotions that never found the right words. And maybe that's the biggest lesson of all. The conversations that never happen aren't always about the people living inside your thoughts. Sometimes they're your mind's quiet way of helping you understand yourself.